One of the unsung jobs in horse racing, and one that's really important, particularly the betting public, is that of the chart callers, the people who gather the information, watch the races, gather the information, and then translate it to us, the betting public. And Maryland's fortunate to have two of the best in the business, and Bill Braswell and Keith Feustle, and thought it'd be a good idea to talk to one of them. So Keith Feustle is going to join me right now on Maryland Racing Today, part of the Midlantic Racing Today family of podcasts. Please do like and subscribe. Maryland Racing Today is powered by the racingbiz.com and presented by our friends at the Maryland Jockey Club. Keith, good morning. Thanks for joining me here on Maryland Racing Today.
Good morning, Frank. Good to see you.
It's good to see. It's rare for us to see each other, not on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday in the press box. But wanted to get you on. You know, we're in sort of Derby, Preakness, Triple Crown season, and just kind of talk about, you know, a lot of people, everybody who follows racing pays attention to what you guys do,
Sure.
But a lot of people don't know what you guys do as the chart callers. And you once described it to me as being the eyes and ears of the betting public.
Yeah,
which is
more so the eyes, I guess. Maybe, you know, we're listening for a little bit, but more so the eyes, and just trying to give whatever information we can give to the betting public, especially trouble comments. I mean, I think that's the biggest part of you know, a chart caller. Yeah, you've got to be accurate in your margins, and but, you know, really keeping a keen eye on everything that goes on from front to back, all the way from start to finish of a race. It's critical. And if we can wake somebody up to say, let me go back and watch a video and pick up some information, or garner some information, as we like to say,
a very good word.
Box, you know, and it might give them a little bit of a price, a little bit of a value, and a score. So, yeah, we take pride in that, Bill and I. I've got a great partner, Bill Braswell. We've been together a long time since the merge of Equibase and the Daily Racing Form chart callers. So it's great to have him alongside.
So like with you mentioned, if you could sort of trigger somebody to go watch a replay, is that kind of like in the short comment? Is that the key thing? Like if there's something to find here, here's the key, or here's
that's the trigger. You know, we've got some newer chart callers coming along. A buddy of mine, Mark Fisher's now down working in our CCC chart caller control center in Lexington. And trouble trumps everything, in my opinion, in the short comment, because not everybody's going to go back and read the long footnotes. So that's got to be number one. Number two was, where were they on the racetrack? Because obviously biases do develop through some racing days. And how did the horse finish? It drives me crazy sometimes, you know, if I'll see a chart caller say drew out. Well, and no comment about how they finished, because guess what? I can see that the horse went for first in front of a length and then 6 lengths in front of the wire. How was the jockey riding the horse? How did the horse finish? You've got to paint a picture in that short comment.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Are there like words that we should, you know, that maybe aren't, obviously, if a horse is steadied or taken up or whatever, stuff like that, 6 wide. I mean, that's obvious. But are there other words that we should pay attention to? Like, if these guys are saying this is something I ought to make note of.
Well, you know, rated, you know, taking a hold of maybe early and then closed belatedly, kind of just, maybe it was a horse that was, you know, in its first or second start, possibly a little bit of an education. Sat back, belated interest. Hey, how did this horse finish? And then continue on through the gallop out. Bill's old comment was inside trip, you know, just some of those little words that we would have. But yeah, I mean, if it's trouble though, I'm gonna state it. So there's only maybe a few secret code words that we use amongst ourselves that wake us up. But no, we're there for the public, and we're gonna give them everything we see.
You did I think you told me you've done 10 or more Derby charts and a million Preakness charts now.
Yes.
We can talk about the mechanics in a second. Is there any different feeling for you guys coming into a race, you know, like the Derby or the Preakness, which is a big deal beyond even the racing circles?
Well, certainly, yeah. With the Preakness and the Derby, and we saw it in this past Derby, it's going to be looked over in a microscope. I mean, you really kind of make sure everything is accurate. The Derby is by far the toughest chart of the year. Being a part of that group, we've got a great group down there at Churchill Downs, and it's just trying to get that information out in a 19, 20 horse field that quick, because the riders, I mean, they'll be knocking on the door. Hey, you got the chart? You got the chart? We'll try to put out a preliminary chart and then come back and watch that rerun. I don't know how many times, 15, 20 times, to get, maybe even more, to get all of the trips, all of the trouble that went on. So yeah, and that's just a bear of a race. I remember my first one was Mind That Bird, 2009. Okay. You know, those conditions. You're up on. I would go up on the roof, call the front part of the field. Somebody else would take the back part of the field, and then we kind of all merged together.
Oh,
but
wow.
Just that environment is just absolutely nerve-wracking.
How many people are like you guys on a normal day? It's the two of you. Mm-hmm. Are there more on the Derby chart?
Yeah. They'll probably have, well, six people. Oh, wow. more so. We'll have somebody take camera shots at different points of call. A couple guys will call the chart, and then they'll come back and have guys just make sure all the mutual information is correct, because they've got so many future wagers and things of that nature. They've got to be right. We'll have, Ella Starr will pop in sometimes and help proofread the chart. So yeah, it's a total team effort.
Wow. Now, what about the Preakness? Is it just the two of you, or do you have more?
Preakness will be Bill and I, Steve Peary, one of our, I guess you would call them field supervisors. He and Teresa Norton do a phenomenal job for us. Teresa's out on the West Coast. I think she's out in Phoenix now. And Steve located in Kentucky. But Steve, they kind of take turns coming out and helping us. Yeah, it's good to have somebody from the office that's got a ton of experience. Teresa and Steve have tremendous amount of experience, and just kind of be there for support to back us up. Bill and I are certainly very, very capable, but it doesn't hurt to have an extra set of eyes on our product.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you mentioned watching all the replays and stuff. Obviously, that's going to be a part of it. But yeah, it is also true. Anyone who hasn't watched a race with a chart caller is going to see stuff right away that you don't see. Yeah. And like you guys were immediately on O'Challey racking up horses inside of them in mid stretch, which I didn't pick up in first time I watched it, and I don't think the announcers mentioned it.
Yeah. Well, they have certainly a tough job.
They got a tough job for sure. Yeah.
We are so used to just scanning everybody, and just it's just something that our eyes, I guess, are trained to do from front to back. I don't care if it's a 6-horse field, an 18-horse field. We're always kind of looking everywhere, and we pick something up out of the corner of our eye. We'll pick it up, and usually we're right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So for like Preakness Day, I mean, it's, as you say, there's a lot of scrutiny. You want to get it right, all this stuff. It's also the 27th race in 2 days that you guys have had to do.
Yeah.
I mean, are you just, by the end of that, are you just like, oh, I am exhausted?
Yeah. We're looking for that refrigerator.
Where is the silver bullet?
There is no doubt. We're there. We're trudging onto the finish line, and some years they hit us with the Arabian race afterwards, and that is just a complete it's a maze amongst itself. I'm not sure if we have that race this year. But yeah, it's a long, drawn out weekend. Even starting with the racing on Thursday, you get through Saturday, the turf racing, the bigger fields. I mean, some of these other races are just even tougher to call than the Preakness. Now this year, it looks like we could have a full boat. We might have 14 horses, so that'll be challenging. But a mile and 3/16, so a lot of times this field will stretch out a little bit. 14. Bill and I are so used to we used to call down at Colonial for all those years. We're used to those. We're accustomed to those big fields.
Right. And the nice thing about this is a lot of the big fields you would see at Colonial are going 5.5 furlongs. So everybody's within 2 lengths at every call. And
And the points of call, Frank, at a mile and 3/16 are probably, now we'll probably just go ahead and screw it up, probably the easiest to call to see around the racetrack.
Is that
So
right?
where they're positioned, the points of call, and you've got a little breather because that 3/4 call is kind of into the far turn at the 3.5 pole, and then you've got a nice little breather to the 8th pole. So it's from that standpoint, yes, where you've got the Derby and that quarter, the mile call in the Derby's at the quarter pole, obviously. That angle at Churchill is extremely, extremely difficult. So I can see where sometimes there's going to be variations because even with pictures and through the binocs, if you're just 30 yards left or 30 yards right, everything's going to look completely different. And that is such a tough call.
Well, you see that, like, even just watching races on the TV at Laurel, like some of the angles of, like, I don't know who's in front here and where are we?
Yeah, when we do a 6 furlong race, any call at the quarter pole at Laurel or Pimlico, what I like to do, and if we have time, I mean, we're going to go back and you can kind of watch not the pan shot, but watch the head-on shot. We'll have a view where you can kind of stop things, freeze it a little bit, and even tighten up things a little bit, make it a more accurate point of call. I mean, a lot of times we'll go and we're within a length of what we initially called. So, but we want to make sure we got that time to go back and really make it spot on. We will. But that's the one thing that people don't understand because everybody kind of wants that chart out. Owners, trainers, jockeys, anybody, breeders. So they're looking for that. So our key is to be, obviously accuracy first, but getting out in a timely fashion.
So, and the way, just like, because I don't think we've talked about this and I think people may not understand it, like mechanically, one of you watches the race live through binoculars and then calls what you're seeing. And then the other one notes that. Is that?
Yeah. Well, okay. If I'm calling the race, Bill's going to take the margins. I go through the multiple points of call, vice versa. Bill does the odd races that Laurel calls them, and I do the evens. We've just come up with that pattern through the years, and it works. Yeah, and then we after that, whoever calls the chart then goes to the video. We'll go off, watch it, head on, pan shot multiple times, while the other person who took the call will input all of the data, gather up all the times, all the mutual information, the purse information, and then whoever calls the chart will come back, and go ahead and write the footnote. We have a long comment, a short comment, and then we write it out in paragraph form as well. Okay. But it's nice to have two people there. A lot of tracks now, Equibase has kind of gone down to one-man crews. So it's tough. They'll have some remote help work, some help there from a remote standpoint. But Bill and I it works very, very smoothly. You've seen it, we're up ready to go for the next race. It gives that guy a little bit of a breather who called the chart before and had to write that note.
You guys, I know the answer to this, but you ever hear from people about your charts?
Sometimes we will. We've got some people out there that I'll say, hey, you might have missed this, or hey, great pickup on that. But it is like a morning line job, Frank. It's a little bit kind of thankless. We're only going to be usually picked on when we miss something. So it's what happened the other day, with the Derby and stuff. Okay, the guys are off a little bit. Within this game, as I said, we're all buddies. We're all in this together. How about just going ahead and picking up the phone? Hey, you might want to double check, because I always say, you'll hear me say it on the air in the morning show. If you see anything within our charts that doesn't look quite right, please let us know. I mean, we're all going to make mistakes. We're going to fat finger something on a keyboard. So go ahead and let us know. We'll make the appropriate changes. But we're in this together. We're not out here to bash anybody, and that's our key.
Right. So Keith, obviously you guys, you've, as a chart caller, you've seen just about everything on a racetrack. Are there some races, charts that stand out to you in your memory?
First, I guess, and foremost, it's a chart that Bill called that day. It was back in, as I look back to earlier this morning, 2013 Spicer Cup for Mary Epler.
Oh yeah.
When he at Pimlico, he was coming around the final turn, bolted again, Xavier Perez, ballsiest ride we've ever seen, right? I mean, jeez, loses the irons, ends up outside of the starting gate, along the outer rail, and makes one final surge to just miss. But just that was crazy. Another crazy incident was on a Preakness weekend in the Maryland, was it the Maryland Breeders handicap or
I think it's a
sprint
Maryland
handicap?
sprint, right?
We had a man by the name of Lee Chang Farrell decide, hey, I want to try to commit suicide. I'm going to jump over the infield fence and run out onto the track. And he's facing all the oncoming horses in mid stretch and takes a swipe at our tax. And I think he actually might have clipped the boot of the jock. I think it might have been Chop Chavez at that point, Georgie Chavez.
Right. Yeah.
And just that was something. How that could have been really, really messy. I think they made our tax like a non-starter in that race. But
yeah,
those were two, both at Pimlico. Laurel, maybe clean that now. I'm sure there was something there. Had a couple, from a chart standpoint, writing a chart, how to approach it. Byron, when he won the Breeders' Cup Classic out at Santa Anita, I was there with Mike Schneider, one of the greatest chart callers that ever called charts. He's now retired. I see him down in New Orleans when we head down there, and just with that incident out of the gate, he took the turn and peeded some horses, and again, you just got to write what you see. You can't make stuff up, and let everybody make their decisions. And the stores ended up left it as is. I remember a dark night. I mean, it was I'm in that press box. I'm like, okay, how am I going to approach this? Writing this one up. And do it like any other race. Be just write what you saw. Yeah.
Well, the RTAX race that you just referenced, I haven't looked at it recently, but I remember reading the chart, and it's like, it's very dry, which I think is what you're saying. You got to, it's not
check
sensational.
to avoid a patron or something. I think
something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys are probably thinking, can I say drunk idiot in a chart?
Well, he, I guess he was charged with a couple of things. I don't know whatever happened. Lee Chang Farrell, somebody might know. But one of the Preaknesses that I definitely remember was Justify. That out of the fog. If you remember, the fog had set in at Pimlico that year, and that's a situation in which we really needed to make the calls, not through the binoculars per se. Might have done it on the early call, down the backside, had to, kind of use the feed of NBC along with our feed and in different angles. And then I think I even put in my chart, emerged in the fog, from the fog in a duel or gaining command. It was things of that nature. Right. So, that was a really, really interesting race. And being part of Justify and American Pharoah, being able to call those horses charts in the Derby and Preakness. That was.
Did you do Derby and Preakness for both of them?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay. So that was fun. Yeah.
So, those horses were pretty okay.
They were all right. Yeah. And I was down for the Breeders' Cup with and was part of that chart when American Pharoah won at Keeneland. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He won at Keeneland there. So
he killed.
Good. I've been lucky. I've seen a lot of really good horses. Some interesting times, some sad times that happen on the track, and some really, really, really happy times for people. So it's a game that's got it all. No doubt.
It really does.
It really does.
When we first started owning horses, the first horse that we owned to race in his second start was the day that Rick Wilson got injured at Pimlico. That race was a little before our race, I think. But for people who don't remember, they came out of the gate. He came off the horse coming out of the gate, and I think got kicked in the head. Right? It was pretty bad. That was the end of his career, and that race was. They stopped it. It was they made it a no contest.
That was something. And a Barbaro race is always something that's gonna,
gosh,
play in our heads as a, because you're like, okay, you get the start call and then you kind of go through and you're like, wait a second, what happened? You look at the guy, it's like, oh,
yeah,
just nutty. Yeah, it's Bill and I, he's been doing this even longer than me. He's probably got some other stories. Be great to talk to. But yeah, COVID, Preakness with Skydiver, just kind of a little eerie, not that same crowd, obviously.
Yeah,
That
what a horse race that was, though.
Yeah, great ride. Shot the rail right down the backside, but she and Authentic, I think, were the horses right
and
there.
And they hooked up with like
really good stretch
to go.
Yeah, they locked up and put on a real good show. Yeah, she was dead game to win it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. One of the best horse races I ever saw and called the chart, Frank, would have been Breeders' Cup Distaff, Beholder, and Songbird. Two just great mares. I guess Songbird might have been time, but just phenomenal horse race out there at Santa Anita. Songbird, I might have been Beholder's last race.
Okay.
Songbird leading pretty much every step of the way to the last couple. Beholder gets the bob at the wire. That place erupted. Down there for the Blame. I was at Churchill up on the roof.
I was there too.
Blame and Zenyatta.
Yeah.
That was probably from just an atmosphere standpoint, the coolest. Well, it was an evening night of racing, just being up there. It was a crisp, chilly evening, clear sky, and just that stretch run. When she got out of trouble and started making the run, that was something to behold.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen like the volume of a place change that much that quickly. It was like deafening wall of sound as she's coming, and then boom, dead silence.
And just the setting at night, it was just it was something.
No, it was. There were people like I knew some horsemen, whatever, that were sort of sitting around us and like they were crying. People were really heartbroken. That outcome. But it was a terrific horse race.
It really was.
And Blame was really a tremendous overall.
Yes, they both, were really good race horses, and and then everybody kind of came to. You're right. The hush at the wire goes quiet, and then seeing her parade back and everything was cool. And the fans,
people love that horse, and my wife loved that horse, and when she lost, this woman that we were with, who was a friend of a friend, who was not a horse racing person, said something like, well, now she can make beautiful babies. And if I never knew what the phrase "if looks could kill" meant, I knew it at that moment, because the look my wife Erin gave this woman was like, peel paint off the wall. It's like, I don't want to get in the way of this. So.
No.
How does a guy end up as a chart caller?
Well, how do you do it? For me, it was just kind of luck of being in the right place at the right time. I was around racing at a very, very young age, and I was a communications major at Towson. And basically by the time I was like 16, I could drive. If I had time on the weekends, I'd go down and spend time with my grandfather, who was the mutual clerk in the press box, Cecil Kaufman. He was a former jockey. He used to exercise, ride, native dancer. Get that plug in for him, because Pop, he deserved it. And so that was good. But no, and I just love the races. And back in those days, it was like, you're talking like 1984, 85, racing was still, it was very, very vibrant. Press box still had multiple people, different papers representative. You had Dale Austin, Jack Mann, Petticord, Charlie. You had a whole slew. Dick Girardi was around doing some stuff, I think, back then. News American. Marty McGee, who kind of got me into it. So Marty was like the trigger. He had an offer to start working with a paper called Figs Form. He couldn't do it. He says, Keith, you want to do this? I'm like, sure. I got credit for it. My last semester at Towson, I think I got 6 credits. I was getting paid and I was going to the races, and they needed somebody. I was calling charts and doing some writing. It was great. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything. My education has helped me a little bit. My degree within the whole sort of TV and journalism, but I was just lucky. Right place, right time.
Did you? I mean, by the time like you were in the latter part of your college years, had you already decided like I really want to work in racing if I can work this out?
Yeah, it was just going there more and more and more. I was like, yeah, this is something I really liked. It was just you got there and you were around those guys, and I was just kind of starstruck a little bit within that own little world of horse racing. Clem Florio was awesome. I mean, I remember when I was like 21, 22 years old. I'm downtown, and I think it was the old fish market. And you're going out, you're a college kid, you're going out and hanging out, and I see Clem Florio walking out of one of the clubs with two beautiful women on each, one on each arm, I should say. And I said, man, I want to be this guy when I grow up. And if he's doing this, working at the track, this sounds like a pretty good deal.
This guy's the king,
awesome. Huh? Yeah, great life.
Mm-hmm. Did you think then that 30 odd years later you'd be here?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, boy, did I think it was going to be forever. I tell you, it almost ended rather abruptly. And funny story, I was at Towson, and this is back before cell phones and everything. And the fixed form had kind of just gone under, and I didn't know kind of what was going on. Like I said, okay, this is going to be it. Maybe I'll have to just not do something in racing. And I get a call for somebody actually came to one of my classes at Towson. This is bizarre. My mom had called because she had gotten a call from somebody either from the fixed form or Equibase was just starting. And like, you got to get back there and keep this information going because there's something else, that's coming around the corner. And sure enough, I went back calling some charts and kept that information going. And I stayed with it within the industry, which was really, really good.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nutty. I'm like, how did she locate me? But yeah, I was off to Pimlico, back to Pimlico that day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You're just saying Pimlico actually triggered a question I meant to ask earlier. Is it you're used to doing the Preakness at Pimlico and everything? Mm-hmm. Even though we don't. I guess the special is the only other race in a mile and 3/16. But yeah. I mean, I don't recall the last time a race was run at that distance at Laurel. Is that going to be does that pose any challenges?
No. I say mile 3/16. I love that distance to call a chart at Laurel. The way it's laid out, even at Pimlico, it's perfect. You're not really around a bend or coming in stretch with that quarter pole in the way. That call being tough. So, and it's so funny you asked that because Frank Carulli out of the woodwork, the El Presidente, left me a message yesterday and was asking us the same thing about a mile and 3/16. We'll go back. And I was thinking, yeah, Maryland Million. There was like 10 or 11 years that was run at a mile and 3/16, the classic.
Yep.
Yeah. It went from a mile and a quarter to a mile and 3/16 and then a mile and an eighth.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's hope that trend doesn't continue. Could we just stop at a mile and eighth? Would that be okay?
I'm telling you, yeah.
So you were with this publication that shuttered. It seemed like there was this whole spate of years there where there was like racing publications would pop up and then disappear.
Yeah, it was fixed form, came out. Racing Times is who I ended up with. So that was Steve Christ, some other guys, only Ray Pollock, Marty was there, Jack Mann wrote, Dale Austin, Clem did work for them. And then Maxwell had his mysterious, out on a boat or whatever, some kind of crazy thing, Robert Maxwell. But that was fun. So I ended up, I think Victor Espinosa started with Equibase, started everything there with Equibase. You're going back in the late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. I came back in like 91 or 92 because Racing Times only lasted like 2 years, I think, if that. So we got a call at Garden State Park. I was working with Steve Schwartz at the time, the late Steve Schwartz, who was a media guy up in New York at the New York tracks for a long time. But that was an interesting time. But yeah, I spent a couple years up there, and then when racing times ended, I stayed around Jersey for like almost a year. I did some PR work in the public relations office at Monmouth with Carol Otis. They did some handicapping. That was just kind of the start of simulcasting. So I would cover some tracks, Rob Levine, myself, and I think it was Sharon Caruso back at the time doing that. But a couple tried to make it. I really liked the racing times. I mean, I liked what it was about. Some things still stay around from there. Obviously, the Buyer speed figures. But I thought it was a very good publication.
And then for a few years at Laurel, you were after Carulli left, you made the morning line. Which I mean, thinking about like your Preakness weekend with so many races that you're doing charts for. God, it must have been grueling when you also were doing the morning line.
Doing a lot of stuff. You're doing charts, line at the morning line. It was tough. I had done the morning line at Colonial for quite a few years, so I was used to doing the morning line. But it takes its toll. I mean, Carulli lasted like 10 years. It wears on you because if you're somebody kind of like me who really wants to do a good job and not to miss. Boy, every day, day in and day out, 8, 10, 9, 11 races, and you want to be right. It's definitely trying.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned this before, but it's like the very definition of thankless job. Like no one ever says that was a good morning line, but they always notice when you whiff.
I talk about, when everybody asks me about making the line, one of my worst morning lines ever. And it was just awful because we got to be, we got to have it what I think the public's going to make the horse. And down at Colonial for the Virginia Derby, and I think it was Kip DeVille comes into town, and first time Dutch Row. And I don't remember if Prado was named, and good form coming in. I made the horse like 3-1, 7-2 morning line. I'm thinking, okay, gamblers are going to crush this horse. I think Prado might have gotten off the horse. Quincy Hamilton, I believe, rode the horse. And this horse, I think, went off somewhere in the range of either 16 to 21, 20 to 1. We could go back and look. And every time that horse ticked up, I just went back to the window and kept betting. And I think he opened up like 8 and then met a challenge, and showing up, I believe, is the horse that got by him. But we caught the exactive. I was just like, I was stunned. How bad, how the public didn't jump on that horse.
No, that's it's kind of, I mean, you can know a lot about what the public's going to do, but like you see this in turf races a lot. Like when you have a bigger field, there's almost always a horse that probably ought to be 6-1. That's like 30 that just got lost in the shuffle somehow.
They do. And that's just going to happen. Yeah. And you'll get some first time starters and everything. Or barn changes. You can get fooled sometimes.
Right. So going back to like when you were sort of starting out, because this is like kind of an endlessly fascinating topic to me. Like, talk a little bit more about the atmosphere around the racetrack back then, and sort of. I have a sense that like if you were like if you were a person who liked sports in 1990 in Maryland, you were aware of racing. Like it was kind of a thing that was around.
Sure. I mean, I saw many either football players, baseball players, coming out to the track. The Yankees were in town. You'd see managers, Lou Piniella, coming into the races. I would see Zimmer and Torres, and I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, the athletes, especially the baseball players, they liked handicapping the races and playing a little bit. Yeah.
Well, we used to see Brooks Robinson pretty regularly around the Maryland tracks. He certainly liked it. I mean, were they still getting big crowds like out of Laurel and Pimlico back then?
Yes. You're going back late 80s. I mean, the whole grandstand at Laurel, you'd go out on a Saturday all the way to the top was packed, because I had to call a chart for a little while from the grandstand, so I was amongst all those people, and it was a little bit tricky from a visual standpoint, but it was packed. Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you have to call the charts from the grandstand?
I guess it might have been fixed for him or whatever. Maybe their relationship with the track, there was something that went on, and I was banished. And I remember Dale Lawson put a little note, little sidebar about me being put down to the grandstand to call races. So I'm not going to name names who made the real call, but yeah, they knew who they are. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm still here though.
Yeah. They can't get rid of you that easy.
No.
Now, so your grandfather, you said, rode.
Yeah.
You've got other family in the industry, right?
What's that?
You have other family.
Yeah, on the other side of the family, which is interesting. Yeah, my cousin Joan Reynolds, trains at Charlestown. She's been training for quite a while. So, yeah, Cecil Pop, he rode races at Charlestown, Bel Air, and places like that. So, yeah, he had some success. But yeah, that was his thing. I remember at his funeral, because he didn't get a mention in a book that was written. I'm not going to name names who wrote the book about Native Dancer, but I can't believe he didn't talk about your grandfather, being the exercise rider. He got on Native Dancer more than anybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a Sagamore farm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then I think you told me one time, well, I'm sure more than one time, but one time your father showed up at some high school sporting event you were in. It was like, as soon as it was over, like, let's go, we're heading to.
That was great. My dad, he loved the races. He didn't bet too much, but he liked the action. He liked the people, and just being around the characters and having a cold couple beers. And yeah, I was up at Brunswick High School, going on the way off of Route 340 towards Charlestown, and had a tennis match there. And man, we're actually my now brother-in-law. We're playing doubles together. This is just a crazy story, and we're down in the match, and we were having a great season. And then all of a sudden, I see Dad walk in. He got his work clothes on for working on the line at General Motors. I'm like, he drove all the way up here from GMO Broning Highway, and I said, well, I know one thing. I better pick my game up a little bit and win the match, which we did. And then he goes, hey, we're going to go to Charlestown. Tell your coach. So, I told Coach Lynham. He says, no worries. And like 4 or 5 of my teammates started giving me money to go ahead and make bets for the match. It was good. Yeah. Just a normal night for a 16-year-old, I guess. Yeah.
Right. That's what all 16-year-olds were doing at the time, is running wagers for their friends. Yeah, that's funny.
That's good.
Where was I going to go after that? That's a good question. I had something in mind. Oh, yeah. Now, I remember interviewing Carulli a few years ago when he was leaving, and he had like a photographic memory for odds and like payoffs and stuff.
I am the complete opposite.
Is that right?
Like, I even wrote some stuff down today when we were going to talk about maybe some races, some charts that I call. I am terrible like that. But yeah, hit me up with a question. Maybe
it was funny because he as we were talking, he would be like, "Oh yeah, I bet on this horse and he paid $27, and I had that exact that paid $112." And I went and looked them all up because I'm a dork like that. And he was pretty close. He wasn't 100% on, but it's like if you said the horse paid 27, he might have paid 28.60.
Yeah,
but it was right there. But do you have like sort of favorite scores out of your wagering past?
Oh man, I'll just tell one of our best scores ever was at Timonium, and and literally I just fell into it because I did not handicap the bet. One of my buddies, Randy Porter, he was up there visiting in the press box, and old Uncle Jerry, my late great Uncle Jerry, was there, and we had a good gang in the press box at Timonium, and we caught a pick 4 at Saratoga that paid quite a bit. And Randy was like, early in the day, he says, I got this scoped out. I said, what's your ticket? He goes, $48. I said, okay. He goes, you want to go half? I said, sure. I was working, getting ready for the day. And lo and behold, we get down and, we're watching. Timonium gets done. We're watching the latter part of the races at Saratoga. And I think we were alive to 2 or 3 horses in the last and got it done for a major score. Uncle Jerry, he had the late pick 3. That place Luckily, it just didn't come down. That thing was shaking up top of its motor. That was great. Then I think we might have gone out to Riley's or something like that. Stan Salter was there. We had a good old time that evening. Yes.
Yeah.
It's good.
No, it's so it's good when you hit.
Yeah.
I've told the story.
Call by Randy, but I've had some nice scores. Yeah.
Yeah. I've told the story a million times. The first time I went to the Kentucky Derby, I hit the Derby Exacta, which paid like $2,000 for $2 or something, but I didn't know how much it had paid because where we were sitting, you couldn't see a tote board. So I go up to cash, and the teller, she says to me, "Oh, did you hit a good one?" And I said, "Well, I think I might have." And she runs it through the machine, and it's a signer, so it like beeps and doesn't spew anything out. Yeah. And her eyes get really wide. She goes, "Oh, you did hit a good one."
Oh, that's awesome. It's a great feeling when you hear that you don't want to hear the IRS sound, but you'll take it, right? But
right. Yeah. It's better than not hearing the IRS.
Yeah, you got it. So now you really got to hit something big, which is good. We like that to get that set. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, anything you like this weekend? Anything we should keep an eye on?
I just kind of got into looking at Sunday's card, the video spotlights Friday. I guess we're gonna have to watch the show on Friday because I got to dig a little bit deeper. I just did a little bit of preliminary work. Yeah.
All right. I gotcha.
Yeah. I can take a look at my PPs real quick and see what we got, see if I've got a note on anything. But it's I know you can edit this stuff. Maybe Sugar Bee's coming back. There's Come to Mama is Sarah White in race number 3. You like this comment? I think Illman liked this horse the other day. Second off of a break, ranked, checked early, steadied it to 3/8. So yeah, that was
a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, we'll come up with something on Friday. Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Keith Feustle, I will let you go. Get about your day.
So. A lot of fun. Yeah, chart calling. It's an interesting job, and like I say, I remember, you have to get trained a little bit to do it. And sure. Doug McCoy came down from Delaware to teach me, and I tell you, everybody who knew Doug, he's kind of a big, gruff kind of a guy, and
it's a very good word. Yeah,
I had my set of binoculars, and we're right out there at Pimlico, and you walk out the press box and a little edge there, and you're kind of, all right, warmed them up. He says, okay, you're looking at the colors, you're looking at the silks. This is back when the saddle towels weren't, color coded, right? One was red, 2 was whatever. Right. So you had to study the silks, and that's why Bill still calls names. He and then Mike Schneider, who I worked with in California, the Breeders' Scouts, they were the last to call names. And so I was like 1 or 2 races. You're good. That was it, man. I was just thrown right into the fire, and I picked it up pretty quick. So, but it takes, I'm not gonna lie, it takes a good year or 2 to get yourself comfortable, completely comfortable, polished. I was able to, be at a track where we had bigger fields, and I had the right kind of guys around me. Like I say, Bill being there was great to lean on and learn. But it's not something you just kind of hit the ground running. You got to get yourself. First off, you got to be kind of a gambler too. I mean, the guys who bet are going to be in my opinion, going to be your better chart callers because they're really honed in. And they've got skin in the game, and they want to be there for the gambler, and you've got to be that. I think first and foremost, you're going to be sharper, looking for all those incidents that happen on the racetrack. But yeah, at least a year and a half or 2 to get fully comfortable, in my opinion.
I had no idea that Dougie McCoy had trained you. The late Doug McCoy.
Yeah.
Who wrote for the racingbiz.com for
that's right.
Several years.
Yeah. He was something. Yeah. I don't know what I was keeping him from, but obviously something, because that was it. 3 and done.
That's fantastic.
But you know what? That helped me. Yeah, that made me say, hey, if I want to do this, I better get tied on.
Better learn it.
Figure out how to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, did you stay in touch with Dougie after that?
I'd see a little bit here and there,
Yeah.
but never really, no, not a close conversation or anything like that. But we did read his stuff in the racing biz. Yeah.
I just,
You
I
probably
always,
spent more time with him in Delaware, right?
yeah. And then, in like 2020, he had health issues going on. I had health issues going on. And, so we actually talked a lot that year.
Yeah.
And then he passed away, but,
Mhm.
I always laugh because I think I've told you, he had the list, and if you got on the list,
Yeah.
that was it. Like, you couldn't, so I would sometimes say, "Oh, we should do a story on this guy." He'd be like, "Nope, he's on the list." I'm like, "Oh, okay, we can't do a story on a guy on the list." And once you got on the list, I
Yeah.
don't believe it was possible to get off it. But
That's great. That's great.
he was truly a racetrack character.
Mhm. Yes, and that's the greatest thing about working at the track and being around it. Maybe there's not as many now, but just the characters that you saw, and it was, that was our place. We wanted to get away from reality a little bit, and we showed up, got to the races. We're in our own little world. It's a good time, and I've been really fortunate to be a part of, and I've been in a lot of different press boxes, but our group of guys, they're the best, and we truly are, become like a family. Yeah, we've lost several, which is tough, and some of the guys, are now doing some other things, but it's been a great group to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it is definitely, it's the island of misfit toys, and
Yes. Yes.
everybody gets along, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
All righty.
all right. Well, thank you very much.
You got
Appreciate
it.
you joining me here on Maryland Racing Today, and
Mhm.
I'll catch you at the races.
Appreciate it. All right. Take care.
That was Keith Feustle, chart caller, the Equibase chart caller at Laurel Park, along with Bill Brasmell, also the former line maker at Laurel Park. So, guy who wears some hats and is a very, very good handicapper as well. So, we appreciate his joining us, and we appreciate you joining us here. This has been Maryland Racing Today, powered by the Racing Biz, theracingbiz.com, presented by our friends at the Maryland Jockey Club. Maryland Racing Today is part of the Midlantic Racing Today family of podcasts. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.